Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Today, I got Coach Goo with me.
What's up?
We're gonna actually do a volley video, but not what you think. All right, stay tuned. All right, so Coach Goo is going to teach us how to do a volley on the fast track. Now, everybody tells you to do a volley like do this with the V, hold your racket out in front, keep your eyes behind the racket, and just contact and move forward into it, just like this, right? Well, that's all fine and dandy if the ball has pace on it. What if somebody sends up like a slice volley that's, you know, back spinning and kind of just floating up to you at the net? I've seen so many of those balls because people don't know how to handle those. They're like panicking up there. And what happens? They whack it into the net because there's just no pace. So, Coach Goo, what do you do with a volley like that?
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of volleys, those are the trickiest ones actually, is the one that's off pace. Everyone can, at a certain level, can understand the ball's coming quick and you pretty much need a racket out in front of you and you step into it and that's totally fine. But what happens is when it slows down, that means ball pace is slower. So what happens that most people do is their feet are stuck because they're expecting the ball to be kind of at them, which is true, it is at them, but at a slower and maybe higher paced. So therefore, there's no way for them to like generate anymore. So they have to swing. That's the only way of solving that issue. And that's what, 50-50, or even sometimes on a bad day, that could be maybe 10-90. It's pretty low, right? So the biggest thing is how I like to use the analogy of like playing baseball. You're an outfielder. You ever see like a pop-up kind of like situation, you're just staring at it, and what do outfielders do? They pretty much still run around to get the ball, and when they catch it, they always catch it with what? Not one hand, but two, because it provides security. So what we treat those high floaty volleys are those situations. It's a pop-up, it's slow, it's high in the sky, but we're moving towards the ball with our feet. Our position of our racket never changes. We still keep the technique of the racket in front, holding the V out, but instead of it, we're starting a little higher up because the ball is higher up. And instead of staying here, we're gonna actually move towards it and give it a little push at the end.
Okay. All right, so let's turn on the fast track and let's talk our way through this, okay?
All right. Here we go. So, volley's gonna come up. I'm actually gonna walk right through it. So see how my hands are still in front. You still have the V, and my left hand is out in front. But you can see I'm taking almost 2 to 3 steps into this volley, and my racket's a lot higher. Usually what happens is if people will try to take a swing if I do this, and just hope for the best. So like that works, but let's say if you miss it, well, that's gonna go straight into the net, unfortunately, because of no control. So don't be afraid to keep the racket out, volley it forward all the way through with your feet, not with your hands. I'm still hitting and generating power still by moving forward with my feet, and I'm timing my footwork to that ball as soon as I can. The faster I go, the faster I can provide that pace, if that makes sense. So even let's say if I want to angle, I can still do it by moving my feet and using my hands to be only in front of me. If you want to put it away, see how explosive my feet are to get to that ball. So if I read it early enough, I'm actually leaving my racket out in front, but I'm pushing my legs to get the timing perfectly to punch that ball. Because you can tell, see how I'm pushing forward there, Harry? That's how I get my power. I'm not just swinging like this, because I could go out. Like, if I do that, that is okay, but if I'm really wanting to push forward and solidify that I'm gonna make it over with pace, I'm timing it with my footwork.
All right, thank you, Coach Goo. So what are the 3 main steps of this again?
So of course, you see how the ball starts slow. You always want to keep the racket out. So you know you're hitting your forehand volley like that. You want to keep the racket out. If you want to make it a little more realistic, you keep the ready position out in front. But when you see that high ball coming, you start up a little higher. You're still doing that V. You're keeping it out in front. The biggest thing, this is step 2, is actually stepping towards your volley. As you can tell, I wasn't waiting for it anymore. I was almost ready to go after it with my feet. You saw, right, when I was hitting my volleys, you didn't see that much movement.
Right.
Right? I actually just ran up to it, like if I was catching a normal ball, and it actually sent off pretty far, or it had some haste on it, right?
Right.
So it's the timing and also trusting your feet to move forward towards the ball. I know it's tempting in the live point to just smack it as hard as you can. Yeah, that would work, but it doesn't guarantee you that you're gonna win the point or even keep the ball in the court, right? There's a possibility that it still goes into the net, or better yet, you might send one outside of the court. It really depends on how you hit it, but that's too risky, right? This is more solidified and more concentrated on footwork and your placement. So placing the volley would be a lot easier, and generating the power would be more natural. It wouldn't feel like it's forced.
Got it. So most people in this situation would stand there with the racket like this, just kind of waiting, and then at the last minute, and then hits, and then goes into the net. So what Coach Gu is trying to tell you is don't wait for the ball to come to you.
Go get the ball.
Yeah. Has the coach ever told you that? Don't wait for the ball. Go get the ball, especially in a situation like this, right? I remember when I was playing Little League, right? All of us in the infield, the shortstop and the second and the third baseman, right? We would get a ground ball and we'd stand there waiting for the ball, right?
Yeah.
Well, the guy's gonna make it to first if you don't go into that ball. So he's like, get to the ball. So we ran up to the ball, gloved it, and then chucked it to first, right? Don't wait for the ball to come to you, okay? Attack the ball, grab the ball, go after the ball. So same thing, fast track, okay? Any other tips?
No, other than that, I mean, you touched upon all of them. It's just making sure that when you're hitting these volleys, don't be afraid to go after the ball with your feet, right? Yes, contact is a big thing, but if you're a good volleyer, you have the contact, you just gotta trust your feet to go towards that ball. That's the biggest thing.
Got it. Thank you, Coach Gu.
Of course.
Where can they find you?
You can find me at hgu.tennis, also be posting content there as well.
All right, guys, practice that slow moving ball that you have to attack on the fast track, guys. So get your tennis, get your volley on the fast track. Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.